Dale Carnegie, author of the best-selling book How to Win Friends and Influence People, which we also simplified in this channel, realized that dealing with people is not the only big problem faced by adults. There's another one, perhaps even bigger, and that is worry. He went to New York's great public library to search for books that talk about worrying, but to his surprise, as big as the library is, and as many books as it offers, there's only 22 books under the title Worry. Just 22 books on worry, yet there are 189 books under worms. He knew what he had to do. He'll write a book that will practically guide readers on how to stop worrying so they can start living. He read the works of philosophers and hundreds of biographies from Confucius to Churchill. He conducted experiments in his classes and collected stories of different people who conquered worry. But the truth is, as educational as this book is, you won't probably find anything new in it. But you will find much that is not applied in daily life. This book does not aim to tell you how to live life because you probably know much already. Rather, it aims to kick you in the shins and make you start doing something. As some people say, knowledge is not power unless it is applied. What will this book tell you through this video? Loads. We'll start with the basic facts you should know about worry, then talk about how to analyze and solve it, how to break the worry habit, how to develop a positive mental attitude, and we'll discuss the golden rule for conquering worry. I hope you stick around until the end because I'll also share some bonus topics on how to shrug off criticism, how to prevent fatigue, how to find your career, and how to lessen your financial worries. If you want to make the most of this video, I suggest that you take a pen and a notebook to list the lessons I'll be sharing with you. We'll definitely talk much, so let's start. Part 1. Basic facts you should know about worry. If you want to fight an enemy wisely, the first thing you have to do is gather facts about it. Our enemy here is worry, so what should we know about it? There are 3 things worth listing. First, we can avoid it by living in day-tight compartments. This is what Sir William Osler taught students at Yale University. What does he mean? It simply means that we have to live tightly and strictly for today. Shut the past and the future from the compartment of your mind because the problems of the past and the doubts of the future are 2 of the main causes of worries. Live one day at a time. Why do you think the Lord's Prayer says, "Give us this day our daily bread"? It didn't mention yesterday's bread or that which you will eat tomorrow? Because your focus should be the present moment. Second fact about worry is, there's a magic formula to deal with a worrisome situation. According to Willis H. Carrier, the American engineer who invented the air conditioning unit, we can deal with the worrying problem by using this method. 1. Ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can probably happen? 2. Accept the worst thing that can happen. 3. Calmly come up with solutions. How does this work? Simple. Our worries make us jump from one worst scenario to another until we're too far from the real situation we're dealing with. By asking ourselves the worst thing that could happen, we put a stop to the endless worrying. By accepting it, we ground ourselves good and solid. And when we're grounded, we can calmly face the problem. Lin Yutang, a Chinese philosopher, said, "True peace of mind comes from accepting the worst." The third fact you need to know about worrying is, you pay for it with your health. Dr. Alexis Carrel once said, "Businessmen who do not know how to fight worry die young." But we both know that's not only for businessmen. It can happen to you and me too. Physicians say worry makes you tense, nervous, and it affects the nerves of your stomach, which can make you develop an ulcer. Dr. Edward Podolsky wrote a whole book on the health problems that can arise from worrying alone. It turned out worrying can fail the heart, disturb blood pressure, cause rheumatism, diabetes, and even common colds. Now, every time worry attacks you, bear in mind that if you won't fight it, your health will suffer. So, fight your worries with the magic formula and by living in day-tight compartments. Part 2. How to analyze and solve worry problems. Now, you may say fight your worries is easier said than done. True. That's why we will now talk about the practical ways of how you can analyze your problems and solve them. Here is the basic technique in analyzing your worries. 1. Get the facts. Dean Herbert E. Hawks of Columbia University said that half of the worry in the world is caused by people trying to make decisions before they have sufficient knowledge to base a decision. Makes sense, right? If you don't set the facts, you'll end up confused, and Dean Hawks also said that confusion is the main cause of worry. 2. Study the facts so you can come to a decision. 3. Once a decision is made, act it out. 50% of your worries disappear when you make a decision, and another 40% go away when you start to carry out that decision. What about the 10%, you say? Perhaps it will disappear once your problem is solved. It also helps to write out the facts and your decision. Whenever you're tempted to worry, remember to ask yourself these questions, write them in your notes, and answer them. What is the problem? What is the cause of the problem? What are possible solutions? And what is the best solution? Part 3. How to break the worry habit. But more important than solving a worry problem is breaking the worry habit, because if you break the habit, you won't even have a worry problem to deal with in the first place. So, here are 6 ways you can break the worry habit before it breaks you. 1. Keep yourself busy. The former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Sir Winston Churchill, worked 18 hours a day during the war, and when he was asked if he worried, he replied, "I'm too busy. I have no time for worry." Why does being busy keep your worries away? Because of this one law in psychology. It is impossible for any human mind to think of more than one thing at any given time. Would you like to prove this? Close your eyes and at the same time, think of the Statue of Liberty and what you plan to do later. You can't, can you? 2. Don't let small things upset you. Sometimes we get upset over little things like spilled coffee or stained shirts. Life is too short to be little, said Benjamin Disraeli. You survive the biggest real crises in your life, so why worry over petty things? 3. Ask yourself, what are the odds of this thing happening? This is called the law of averages, which basically teaches us that most of the things we're worried about have the smallest chance of happening for real. If you're worried that you'll crash your car on a rainy night, ask yourself, how many times have I crashed a car before? How many times did drivers crash a car even when driving slow? You'll realize that it's 1 in 100 or even 1 in thousands. So what's there to worry about? 4. Cooperate with the inevitable. If a situation is beyond your control, then accept it and tell yourself, it is so, it cannot be otherwise. Let go and let God. 5. Put a stop-loss order to your worries. It means setting an ultimatum or a deadline or a final statement to everything. For example, say, I will try selling insurance just for 2 months, and if I don't do well, I'll find another job. Decide just how much you can do for something to avoid feelings of disappointment that breeds worry. 6. Learn from your mistakes, then forget them after. Keep the lessons, forget the shame. Don't saw sawdust. You can't saw what's already been sawed. The same with spilled milk. It's no use crying over it because you can't shove the liquid back into the carton. So simply learn and move on. Part 4. How to develop a positive mental attitude. Conquering your worries requires positivity. If you truly want to stop worrying and start living, you have to develop a positive mental attitude. How? The book answers that with 7 rules. Rule 1. Think and act cheerfully, and you will feel cheerful. William James, the American philosopher, studied practical psychology, and one of his findings was that action and feeling go together. He meant that by changing our actions, we can actually change our feelings. You may want to try it for yourself. Take a deep breath and sing a cheerful song. If you can't, then whistle. You'll discover that your mood can lighten and brighten. The ancient Roman philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." And if you've heard the law of attraction before, it's pretty much the same. You become what you think. Rule 2. Never try to get even with your enemies. Does that have something to do with your worries? Somehow, yes. Because if you revenge, you hurt yourself more than you hurt them. If you've tried to get even with someone before, you probably experienced the anger, madness, and frustration it caused you. When Jesus preached, "Love your enemies and forgive them 70 times 7, he was also keeping us from having high blood pressure, heart trouble, stomach ulcers, and other illness. Don't you ever wonder why physicians advise heart attack patients to avoid anger fits? It can end you. If you can't sincerely love your enemies, then love yourself at least. Don't let them control your happiness and your health. Rule 3. Don't expect gratitude. When we give, we often expect people to thank us. And when they don't, we begin to worry about ourselves as to why we didn't receive any gesture of gratitude. So let's not expect gratitude. Let it amaze us if we get some, and if we don't get it, then we won't be disturbed. But on the other side of the coin, Rule 3 also urges us to give sincerely without expecting anything in return. Not a favor, not even thanks. It suggests that we practice giving just for the inner joy of giving. For what is the opposite of worry, if not peace and joy? Rule 4. Count your blessings, not your troubles. Truly, let's not expect gratitude from others. Rather, let's expect it from ourselves. Think and thank. These are words written in the Cromwellian churches in England, which the book suggests are words that should also be marked in our hearts. Too often we think of what we lack and ignore what we have. And this way of thinking has caused more misery to the world than all wars and diseases in history. If we practice the habit of being thankful, we'll probably find out that what we've been worrying about before are actually petty and unimportant. Rule 5. Be yourself. Paul Boynton, the employment director for the Sokonoy Vacuum Oil Company, was asked what the biggest mistake people make in applying jobs, and to that he replied, "Not being themselves." Instead of being true, applicants often give answers that they think the interviewer wants. But nobody would hire a counterfeit. Nobody wants a fake. According to Angelo Pardi, who has written 13 books and thousands of newspaper articles on child training, the most miserable person is him or her who wants to be somebody or something other than the person he or she is in body and mind. Also, here's a part of Douglas Malloch's poem which you should think over. If you can't be a highway, then just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. It isn't by the size that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are. Rule 6. When life gives you a lemon, make lemonade. There was a young man aged 24 who met a car accident that cost him his 2 legs. They were paralyzed, and at that young age, life likely sentenced him to a lifetime in a wheelchair. Of course, he worried, he became angry, he rebelled. But one day, he realized that there were people around him who were kind and patient, and the least he could do was to be courteous and kind to them too. As soon as he decided to change his attitude, his perspective followed. He began seeing the lemonade he can make from his lemon. He spent his time in reading and music, and he became interested in many things like politics and public speaking. He got to know people, and people got to know him. His name is Ben Fortson, who later became the Secretary of State for the state of Georgia. Rule 7. Create a little happiness for others. The great psychiatrist Alfred Adler said that if you want to cure sadness in 14 days, try to think every day of how you can please someone, and then do it. How would this work? Remember the law in psychology we mentioned earlier, which states that we can't think of 2 things at the same time? Well, that would answer your question. Trying to create happiness for others will cause us to stop thinking of ourselves, the very body where the worries and sadness come from. So it's pretty much basic. Part 5. The Golden Rule for Conquering Worry. You just had the 7 rules that you can put to practice to develop a positive mental attitude. But there's really this golden rule for conquering worry, and it's called prayer. We won't talk about the religious side of praying because some of you may frown at the idea, and religious faith has been one of the most sensitive talks in the world. So let's look onto its science and practicality. Prayer helps us put into words exactly what is troubling us. It's very much like writing our problem down on paper, as we discussed on how to analyze and solve our worry problems. Prayer also gives us a sense of sharing the burden. Some of our worries are so private that we can't discuss them with families and friends. A prayer to a powerful and kind being would be a helpful outlet. And lastly, prayer can be the first step towards action. When you repeat your thoughts sincerely in words every day, you'll find yourself slowly acting towards its fulfillment. Dr. A. Brill, a famous American psychiatrist, once mentioned that anyone who is truly religious does not develop a mental illness. And Professor William James at Harvard said that the universal cure for worry is religious faith. I'll leave it there. If you're still watching up to this moment, congratulations, because I'll let you into some bonus topics as I've promised earlier. So first bonus, let's talk about how you can keep from worrying about criticisms. There are 3 rules you should note. 1. Remember that unfair criticism is often a disguised compliment. That means people sometimes criticize you because they see something worth envying about you. As they say, no one ever kicks a dead dog. 2. Just laugh it off. If you answer the person who criticized you, chances are he or she will answer back, and the cycle can go on. So don't waste energy and just laugh because that person surely can't answer back to a laugh. 3. Reflect on the criticism. Maybe the criticism is true. Remember that a fool will be angry at even the slightest criticism, but a wise man will be eager to learn from it. Abraham Lincoln did that. Why shouldn't you? For the second bonus, we'll answer the question, how can we prevent fatigue? But what's even the connection between tiredness and worries? Tiredness is the opposite of relaxation, and if you're relaxed, worries are surely nowhere to be found. So the answer to how to prevent fatigue is basic. Rest before you get tired and learn to relax. But aside from that, I'll share with you 4 good working habits that will make you less tired every day. 1. Clear the clutters from your workspace. Only bring out the things you need for the task at hand. More things you see, more things to think of. So clear your desk. 2. Do things in order of their importance. 3. If you have the facts on hand, solve problems immediately. 4. Learn to organize, supervise, and delegate workloads to your workmates. Now, let's have bonus number 3, how to find the career that you should pursue. This is probably one of the biggest worries of younger adults, the fearsome worries on whether they'll ever be great at what they do. So let's address this worry problem. First, try to find work that you enjoy. Charles Schwab, the American investor and financial executive, said, "A man can succeed at almost anything for which he has unlimited enthusiasm." 2. Second, take the time to get the facts before you act. You're making one of the most important decisions in your life, so don't rush. Study the career choices. Ask people who have excelled in those fields. Do they regret it? Do they see you fit in that field? Gather enough information. And of course, our last bonus for this video, how to lessen your financial worries. According to a survey made by the Ladies' Home Journal, 70% of all our worries are about money. That's probably enough reason to discuss it, right? So here are some basic rules. Rule 1. Get the facts down on paper. Budget experts recommend that we keep an accurate record of where we spend our money so we'll have an idea of how to draw a budget. Rule 2. Get a budget that fits your needs. This means not too tight and not too loose. Mrs. Elsie Stapleton, an experienced financial advisor, said, "People who live on budgets are happier people." Rule 3. Learn how to spend wisely. Get the best value for your money. Rule 4. If you must borrow, then try to build credit. Before you sign a policy or any loan, ask questions from credited financial institutions like banks to avoid scams and unfair interests. Rule 5. Protect yourself against illness, fire, and emergency expenses. Being prepared can cast away plenty of worries. I guess we've almost touched all important topics on worry. I admit that there's a lot of information in this video, so if you must, then do watch it again to grasp the concepts better. It's a free practical guide from a best-selling author, simplified for you by yours truly. If you like book summary videos like this, subscribe to my channel and leave a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching. See you soon.